It's all about ingredients. It's not about your regular season. Do you have the two things you have to win a conference? A great star who's a closer and a great coach. Historically, that matters. Depth doesn't. Play hard doesn't. Good defenders don't. Doesn't matter. Milwaukee, Toronto, Philadelphia. To me, the Eastern Conference is really easy to figure out. If you look at the 8 teams in the Eastern Conference playoffs, pretty easy. You got 4 bad rosters. Indy, Detroit, Orlando, Brooklyn. Those are not great rosters. Then you have 2 pretty good rosters that are unproven rosters, Toronto and Milwaukee. Then you have a great roster that's got chemistry issues, Philadelphia. Then you have the Celtics. The Celtics have the coach. The Celtics have the star. The Celtics have the depth. They have playoff experience. But the difference between Indiana and Boston in this entire series has been one player. You got 15 guys on a roster. There's 30 guys available. One guy, Kyrie Irving, has stolen the show. And what happens in a playoff series, when you play somebody over and over and over and over, system guys shrink. Guys who need plays designed for them shrink. Guys who need a screen to get open shrink. You need guys who can get a bucket. And there's not 4 guys on planet Earth who are better at getting a bucket. Maybe James Harden's better. Maybe Kevin Durant's better. They're not 4 guys on planet Earth who are better at, quote, getting a bucket with a minute to go than Kyrie Irving. Kenny Smith talked about that last night.
We need a guy who's talented enough to say we don't have to run a play, just go make a play. So if you're Indiana, there is no one right now. Those guys are great guys who can run plays, and they make great decisions when running a play. But when it comes down to this situation, these situations, Boston will always have the advantage because not only Kyrie, they could throw it to Tatum as well.
So the best player in this series has been the difference, Kyrie. The second best player is Jason Tatum, but he's not yet great. He's really good. Well, what happened to Tatum? He was average in game 1. He was tremendous in game 2. The difference between good and great is consistency. Kobe gave you the same game every night. LeBron in his prime, D. Wade in his prime, Bosh in his prime, Steph Curry in his prime. They have a stinker about once a month. So everybody gets fooled over and over on this. Whenever you play the same team over and over and over and over, you can't fool anybody. Everybody's seen the plays. I mean, LeBron James in his prime, if you remember this, when he was with Miami and Cleveland at the end, he'd be calling out your plays. He'd been in the NBA so long, he'd go, oh, they're running that, because you couldn't fool LeBron. So when you get into a series, in the NFL, college basketball, other sports, you're in town, you're out of town, I can fool you. I can win a game on schematics. But when you get into a 7-game basketball series, I know everything you do. You can't fool me on your inbounds. You can't fool me on your screens. You can't fool me on your pick and roll. You can't fool me out of a timeout. You know what I need? Guy can get me a bucket. And this Boston team, there's not a better player in the Eastern Conference to get a bucket with a minute left because Giannis can't shoot, and he doesn't handle the ball in crunch time. Kyrie's the best get-a-bucket guy. Most of the best guys in the league at that are on the West. There's one guy in the East that's unbelievable. It's Kyrie Irving, and he's the difference in this series. We have a packed show today. Fascinating stuff. Marcus Thompson from The Athletic covers the Warriors. I just got a little scoop on the Warriors last night from an NBA star that I'll deliver later in the show. Barry Trammell, who Russell Westbrook refuses to answer a question from, writes for the Oklahoman, stops by Stephen Jackson, Albert Breer, Chris Broussard. Coming up next, though, the Philadelphia